Hello, my yarn lovers, my fiber artists, my crafty and creative people. You know, I did make a YouTube short about this topic, and it was silly, and it was funny, and that's fine, right? But I actually want to have a serious conversation with you about vacation, right? Because if you're on my channel, if you're a returning viewer, you know I am going on vacation. So if you are a returning viewer, I want to say thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out with me, spend a little bit of your time with me. And thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi. My name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet, and I also happen to have been born visually impaired, completely colorblind, legally blind my whole life. So I do knit and crochet, but I feel I'm not totally blind, though I have some sight. I use screen readers and zoom and magnify stuff on my screen at like 1,000 times magnification, but I do. So anyway, I did make a silly YouTube short, but I want to talk about vacation. Like, do you bring your knitting and your yarn and your crafting on vacation? For me, it's like, of course, right? I couldn't imagine traveling without yarn, without knitting and crochet. Now, I'm just going home, right? It's just a car trip, going home, hang out with my mom and my dad. My sister's coming from the East Coast. It's just some family time. If I were flying, I would for sure be bringing yarn, right? To go on a flight, I've taken yarn with me to airports. I've flown with my knitting, of course. I can't imagine sitting on a plane without some yarn. I can't. So, but for me, it's family time. Now, of course, I enjoy my family very, very much, but hey, sometimes hanging out with family can be a little bit stressful at times too, right? And so for me, it's like knitting and crochet is calming, it's my joy, it's my peace, it keeps me grounded. Things get tense, I'm like, just keep stitching. Just keep stitching, right? Don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut and keep stitching. So for me, it's a definite yes. But you know what? If you don't bring your knitting and crochet and your yarn on vacation, that's okay too. You're welcome to comment. People's opinions are always welcome here, as long as you stay respectful of me and others in the comment section. There's nothing wrong with feeling different than me. I know some people are like, my vacation is a vacation from my craft, and that's totally fine too. But let's talk about packing for our vacation. For those of us who do bring our yarn and our crafts with us, what do we need, right? I'm going to bring my little notions pouch. Of course I am. So I've got in here my scissors, right? Got these cute little scissors. Now, if I was flying, I probably wouldn't even attempt to bring these scissors with me. Most people suggest that, you know, you bring like a pair of clippers or something, like nail clippers to clip your yarn. Yeah, I haven't actually worried about it. I think when I've needed something, I've probably either borrowed scissors from somebody at the hotel, right? Even like a knife, you know, that at a restaurant or something, you could slice your yarn. I mean, you could even buy a cheap pair of scissors once you get there that you just bring for, you know, that you just get for your crafting and then leave there, right? So if you're flying, you probably won't get away with bringing scissors, but who knows, maybe. But I'm riding in a car, so I'm bringing scissors, right? I got my little needle container. I really love this little needle container. It's got my plastic needles, which I really don't like that well, but of course it's got my favorite big, you know, my favorite needle in here. One of my smaller ones, my big one. If you've been on my channel, you know I really like this, a big metal needle for weaving in my ends, sewing on stuff. So I'll be bringing that with me. And of course, I have an entire video just on stitch markers. As somebody who's visually impaired, I find them super handy. Got my round ones for knitting. Definitely have some locking stitch markers in case I crochet. So those are the basics. And then, of course, you need yarn and a pattern, right? So Do some of you like definitely have your patterns and stuff all planned out, or do you just sort of wing it? I struggle if you don't know yet. Like, I don't even know yet what I want to bring with me. So I feel like I need to bring one set of crochet hooks, right? So these are my boy hooks. These are the ones that I pretty much always have with me just because they don't have all the sizes. The biggest size they have is a 6.5 hook. You know, I do own a 7 and an 8 and a 9 and a 10 and a 12, but these go down to like I've even got the steel hooks that are like 1.75, okay? I've got like the 2, I got 2.25. I think I've got like a 1.9, a 1.8, 1.75. These go, not that I've ever used them. I mean, I've never crocheted with even a 2mm hook, but for some reason, I feel like this is the best set for me to travel with, even though, of course, then I think that's going to be the time when I want my 9mm hook, right? Right? So I'm telling myself to leave that one at home. Then, of course, there's the knitting needles because I knit and crochet. I prefer to work in the round, so I feel like I need to have at least one set of my nickel-plated needles with lots and lots of cable options. But then I also like to have a wood set because I work in the round. So, you know, you usually use 2 different needles for me. But these sets are the wood. These are the Knit Picks and We Crochet ones. The options, they go from 4 to 11, both the wooden set. Both the wooden set, this is a Sunstruck set, and this is the nickel-plated set. They go from 4 to 11, but that does not include my sock yarn needles, right? So then I feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to bring sock yarns of 0 to 4 needles in case I want to make socks. For some reason, you know, when I fly, I usually do only bring like enough yarn for knitting a pair of socks. So in some ways, flying is like probably the better option for me, right? Because then I'm like, the decision is made. You're just going to bring enough yarn for a pair of socks, right? So, you know, it's like, I've got this really cool Premier sock yarn that I bought that I'm kind of interested in trying. Now, the thing about these yarns is that the pattern yarns I think would be really cool, but I'm not totally blind, and I can tell that they don't start in the same place. Like this skein starts in the white, and then this other skein, I can tell you, starts in, I don't know what color it starts in. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a clue what color this is. But I know it's not white. Okay, I think it's probably, I don't know, like a green or something? I don't know. I'm colorblind. But I have enough sight to tell you those are not the same color. One is white and one is not. Now the good thing is my sister's going to be there. My sighted family's going to be there. So maybe they could help me trim one of these and get my sock skeins started in the right place. Maybe that's a bonus to hanging out. To hang out with the family. I don't know. So that could be one option, right? That could be one really good project for me to take with me and then just like settle it, right? So, and then I wouldn't have to even bother about bringing a pattern. It would just be like, try to make the socks match, right? Just try to get the same number of rounds, make a match. Not a lot to keep track of, not a pattern. I don't know. Sometimes I just want things to keep my hands busy, right? But not have to think a lot. So then, you know, if I did this, I wouldn't really even need to bring a pattern at all. I can just kind of make a pair of socks and hope that the pattern on the socks matches. And then I'm like, or I've got this really pretty dotty yarn. I could just bring that with me and crochet like a granny square blanket or something, like one big square blanket, right? And then I wouldn't even have to worry about a pattern again. Of course, I got some Swish white here, worsted. because I am designing a sweater in my head, but it's a fairly big sweater. I'm pretty sure it's going to take more than 10 skeins of yarn. Do I want to bring 20 skeins of this with me to make one sweater to go home? I don't know. I'm designing that in my head. I would need a pattern. Of course, if you're sighted and you read patterns, I can definitely tell you these are just, some printed out patterns. Print out your pattern if you're going on vacation, right? I don't want to give away. These are paid for patterns, so I don't want to give them away. I do still have a little bit of sight. They do have lace charts in them that I could enlarge. I do have a printer here, and I could zoom them in and enlarge little segments of the charts, probably like 400% or 500%, and still see the lace charts a little bit. So that is something that I might do. So that's something I want to say. If you're visually impaired, now I have these in electronic versions too, so they're in my phone, so I can listen to it. We'll have to talk about listening to patterns sometime on the internet. If you don't know what that's like with a screen reader, yeah, it's kind of, you have to know your abbreviations and what they sound like, right? With knitting and crochet, because knit two together, when your screen reader says it, it says K2 Tog. That's what it says, K2 Tog. So you have to know what K2 Tog means, right? For a magic ring, when you crochet, it says Mr. because it sees the MR in most patterns. So you really do have to know what you're listening for, but I do. So I can use a screen reader. I can zoom it in because I'm not totally blind at like 1,000 times and look at it. But if you do like print still and you're visually impaired, one thing that I do still sometimes is take a chart or a piece of the pattern and copy it on my printer and zoom each little section like a pattern. This is just a front page that I'm not giving away the pattern, but I take like sections, like just paragraphs, and then I enlarge them like to 500% or 600% and just do it like paragraph by paragraph. And do something like that so I can actually visually read stuff. So that's definitely, if you're visually impaired, you might, if you paid for the pattern, you might want to make your own enlargements ahead of time, as well as your electronic copies. I do try to rely more and more on electronic copies because, for me, even enlarging something to 500 times anymore, it gets really hard for me to see. And so, the electronic copies, I can get them even bigger on my phone. I can listen to them. But of course, technology fails, right? Batteries run out. The internet doesn't work. You got to download them ahead of time. And still, can you find them back? It's tricky. So it's hard. But definitely, you want to have your pattern if you're working from a pattern. So part of me is like, no, just work what's in your head. I am designing a cardi in my head for this Wonder Fluff. So that's a possibility. But again, that seems like a lot of yarn to bring with me. I don't know. I'm definitely kind of, in a conundrum. Part of me's like, just bring a little bit of fingering weight yarn. This is a 5-pack of comfy fingering in the color Blackberry. And so like a little bit of fingering weight yarn, and then I could probably knit a summer tank top, right? With like 3 or 4 skeins of comfy fingering weight yarn, and then I wouldn't have to bring a lot. I have a 10-pack here in DK. I could probably do a tank top in like 6 to 8 skeins of this. So, I don't know. It's a struggle, but then I'm always in sort of that indecisive place of, do I really know what I want to make? Maybe I don't. So then maybe I should, I don't know. It's a struggle for me, right? I've got this big 10-pack of Hawthorne fingering, and part of me really is like, just bring that, and that way you could make a shawl, or you could make socks, or you have so much flexibility with that. So anyways, my friends, let me know, what you do for vacation. Do you just have like specific projects planned out? Do you just bring enough for like 1 pair of socks or 1 shawl if you're going on like a road trip? This isn't like a flight. Like I said, if a flight, I probably just bring enough for a pair of socks, but I'm not. So when you're doing like a road trip thing, or you're chilling, how much yarn do you bring with you? Because that's my struggle right now. I'm trying to plan this thing out. And I gotta make decisions here pretty quickly. So I'd love to hear from you. Do you bring your knitting and crochet and your yarn with you, and just how much, and do you have everything organized ahead of time to like, boom, this is the bag, this is the project, this is it? Do you limit yourself, or are you kind of like me where you're like, I don't know, I feel like I still need options? Because that's where my mind is at. I feel like I still need options. So I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you're don't bring any yarn with you at all, and that's totally fine too. Yeah, and of course, if you have any thoughts or recommendations on which of these projects I should bring with you, should I just stick to socks? Should I just do a granny square blanket? Should I go ahead and bring like 20 skeins of yarn and do the sweater that I really want to make? Or should I stick to just a summer top? If you have recommendations or thoughts on what I should be bringing with me on the vacay, please let me know. Somebody help me make this decision, because I'm struggling right now. Alrighty, my friends. Well, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, well, you know what I like to say. Creativity is for everybody. Whether you see or you see like me, which is not in color and not in the daytime and not so much, or you don't see it all. Creativity is for you. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now.